The world watches as geopolitical titans clash, not on battlefields, but in the intricate dance of economic warfare. The European Union, with its formidable economic might, has unleashed an unprecedented barrage of sanctions against Russia, aiming to cripple its economy and defense industry. Yet, a deeper look reveals a complex reality where the intended impact often diverges sharply from the actual outcomes, reshaping global alliances and economic pathways in unexpected ways. Consider the EU's 18th and now 19th packages of sanctions. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen confidently declared these measures would strike at the heart of Russia's economy. This bold statement, however, has been met with a mix of defiance, mockery, and a growing skepticism regarding its efficacy. The narrative often presented is one of Western unity and decisive action, but beneath the surface, cracks are appearing and the global chessboard is being redrawn. Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former president, has emerged as a particularly vocal and often vitriolic critic of these Western policies. His public statements, laced with biting sarcasm and historical allusions, serve a dual purpose. On one hand, they are a direct assault on the credibility of Western leaders, particularly von der Leyen, aiming to expose perceived hypocrisy and past failures. Medvedev's rhetoric is a masterclass in psychological warfare, designed to undermine the moral high ground claimed by the EU and its allies. By dredging up historical grievances and labeling nations with derogatory terms, he seeks to sow discord and highlight what he perceives as a lack of independent thought within the European bloc. This isn't just political banter. It's a strategic effort to chip away at the foundations of Western solidarity, portraying Europe as a collection of subservient states rather than sovereign entities. On the other hand, Medvedev's pronouncements are tailored for a domestic audience, designed to bolster Russian national pride. By depicting Europe as historically flawed, hypocritical, and ultimately weak, he frames Russia as a resilient nation, forced to defend itself against an aggressive, morally compromised West. This narrative resonates deeply within Russia, reinforcing the idea of a nation standing strong against external pressures and uniting its people behind a common cause. It's a powerful tool in the information war, shaping perceptions both at home and abroad. Adding another layer of complexity to this geopolitical drama is the voice from across the Atlantic. Donald Trump's recent demand that the EU should have paid for the weapons supplied to Ukraine years ago highlights a simmering transatlantic tension. His assertion of a new agreement, where the EU would shoulder 100% of the cost for US military equipment, underscores a transactional approach to international relations. This isn't just about burden sharing. It's about shifting financial responsibility and ensuring that American defense companies benefit directly from global conflicts. Trump's emphasis on increased NATO defense spending, pushing for 5% of GDP, further illustrates a desire to rebalance military and financial contributions, challenging the traditional post-World War II security architecture. This perspective, while controversial, forces a reevaluation of who benefits most from current global security arrangements. The core argument emerging from various analyses is that the EU's sanctions, while imposing some costs, are largely failing to achieve their strategic objectives. In many instances, they appear to be causing more self-harm to European economies than lasting damage to Russia. Let's delve deeper into why this might be the case. Take the energy sector, for example. The much-touted oil price cap was intended to limit Russia's revenue from oil sales. However, the global energy market is far more fluid and adaptable than many policymakers anticipated. Russia has simply pivoted its oil exports to new markets, primarily India and China, often selling at prices that still yield a profit. The irony is that European countries, desperate for energy, are reportedly buying Russian oil indirectly, often at inflated prices, through intermediaries. This creates a perverse feedback loop where the sanctions inadvertently drive up costs for the very economies imposing them, while Russia finds new avenues for its vital exports. The long-term impact on global energy flows is significant, accelerating a shift away from traditional Western-dominated markets. In the financial realm, the strategy of repeatedly cutting Russian banks from SWIFT, the global interbank messaging system, has also shown diminishing returns. While initially disruptive, Russia has not remained static. It has actively developed alternative payment systems and, more importantly, strengthened its financial ties with non-Western economies, particularly within the BRICS framework. The push for de-dollarization, while a long-term goal, gains momentum with each new sanction. Countries like China and India are increasingly settling trade in local currencies, bypassing the dollar-denominated financial system. This gradual decoupling from Western financial infrastructure reduces the leverage of sanctions over time, as Russia and its partners build a parallel economic universe less susceptible to Western pressure. Furthermore, sanctions on technology and dual-use goods, intended to cripple Russia's industrial and military capabilities, face similar challenges. While immediate access to certain high-tech components may be restricted, Russia has intensified its focus on domestic production and forged new partnerships with nations like Iran and North Korea, who possess their own expertise and supply chains. This forced self-reliance, coupled with the emergence of alternative suppliers, means that while the sanctions create hurdles, they also inadvertently stimulate indigenous innovation and foster new geopolitical alignments. The global supply chain is becoming more fragmented, less reliant on a single dominant power, leading to a more multipolar economic landscape. The repeated imposition of sanctions, without a clear shift in strategy, is increasingly being viewed not as a sign of strength, but of stubbornness and desperation. It suggests a failure to recognize that the geopolitical landscape has fundamentally changed. Russia is no longer playing by the old rules, it is actively reshaping them. By building new alliances, fostering alternative financial systems, and adapting its economy, Russia is demonstrating a resilience that many in the West underestimated. The EU, in this narrative, appears trapped in an outdated mindset, clinging to tools that are losing their efficacy in a rapidly evolving world. In conclusion, while the EU's sanctions against Russia are a significant geopolitical maneuver, their effectiveness is a subject of intense debate. The reactions from figures like Medvedev and Trump highlight the complex interplay of rhetoric, economic demands, and shifting global power dynamics. The long-term consequences of these actions extend far beyond immediate economic impact, accelerating the formation of new economic blocs, challenging established financial systems, and reshaping the very fabric of international relations. The world is witnessing a profound rebalancing of power, where traditional leverage points are being eroded and new pathways for global influence are being forged.